There we go. Can everyone see that? Yes, thumbs up. All right, perfect. So for treatment providers, please know that when we talk about the certification process, when we are presenting our new recertification process, as we present and talk about and notify you of our auditing process, that type of thing, uh, I'm aware that just kind of those words can cause anxiety for people and those kinds of things. But we as a team just want you to know that we're going to walk you through the process. If you have questions about it, to please reach out to us. We've already to date, done a lot of brief coaching calls with current providers, new providers, that type of thing. Our purpose and intent is to get you through the process, give you grace with the process, just have you know some of the things that we need to have, in our files here for you, those types of things. So I just needed to say that before we get started with this. So anyway, and then also some of you who have already attended our training, this will be a little bit of review for you, but review never hurt anyone, right? And knowledge is power. And then some of you who have yet to attend one of our trainings, there is also some of this that we go over in the new KSSC training. All right. So when we talk about new provider certification, there is that certification. There's a letter on our website that kind of takes you through the different steps. And the application process. The first thing that I always ask to see when someone reaches out and wants to know what the process is I need to see your KDAD's license. I know, Stephanie, that thrills you, doesn't it? I know. So KDAD's license. We also double check to make sure that the modalities that you are wanting to provide to our population, that you are indeed licensed to provide that modality. So we look at all of that. We do require your clinical staff and your peer mentorship staff to come through our 4-hour certification training, that is completed before approvals are given and to new providers. A lot of our new providers also, we suggest that you have any kind of billing staff or clinical supervisors. Some of the directors have decided to attend our training, but definitely we need the clinical staff and your peer mentorship staff. We do require an implementation plan that's required for everyone to complete that. We review that as a team. Once you get through the first process of submitting things, then I send you the plan, and then there's onboarding documents that we have you fill out. We also, again, review that as a team, review all of your documents and your plan. And then once we approve you, then we basically pass the baton to Carillon, because you need to be certified to provide Senate Bill 123 services with them. Sometimes providers will say, well, I'm already registered with Carillon. Well, you need an additional registration and approval with them for Senate Bill billing. So just kind of a review. You do the application, your KDAD's license. We need to see all current staff licenses, the KDAD's approval letter, and certificates. And here's this one's kind of has become a little tricky, that sometimes people will submit the online certificate that the peer has completed the online training. That's not the certificate we need. That's the first part of it, but we need their actual certificates. And then the SASE 4 training certificates, if they have a SASE 3, then there is a SASE 4 tutorial link on our website where they can go and do that. And then that is about 15 minutes free of charge, and then get that SASE 4 updated training certificate. The plan approval, like I mentioned, staff training, onboarding documents, and then certification with Carelon. Existing provider recertification. What we have done is everybody's starting from the same spot. We also understand that there's some of our providers who have completed the implementation plan a few years ago, and so we've worked with them on, how to kind of update that and that type of thing. So everyone's starting out at ground zero, basically, and then we will require recertification every 4 years. Agency KDAD's license, current KDAD's license is very important, and we have to see copies of that, copies of staff licenses, and then have everybody trained. And that's every 4 years again. And we also review to make sure that you're doing your implementation plan adherence. If there's any kind of corrective action plan, and this will be moving forward, right, from any kind of previous audits or graduated sanctions, that those need to be resolved before we do recertification. And then I wanted to just put a couple reminders on here as well in regards to record retention. Be sure you keep those for 7 years, and also be sure that you're responding to records requests from other treatment providers in a timely fashion. And then just some housekeeping kinds of things during the certification process. Please be sending those renewals to us, KDAD licensing updates within 60 days, please. And you all have treatment providers, you've done a really good job working with me in regards to that, sending those in. Sometimes I have to send out little reminders. I have a spreadsheet that I look at so I know who works where and when their licenses expire and that type of thing. So, but that has really improved by all of you across the state, and I appreciate that. We will continue to, this is for current treatment providers, to honor the temporary certification application for peers and clinicians. Those applications are on our website, and those need to be submitted. We need to also, for sure, of course, if it's a new staff person, I need to see their licenses and that type of thing, and then submit that temporary certification application that is valid for 6 months. And then we want you to go ahead and get your new staff person scheduled on into one of our trainings. We are trying really hard to do 2 trainings a month for new and existing staff. Okay. We have our treatment provider change form. Please be using this, and a lot of you do a really good job with this. We need to know about staff changes, even to include agency contact staff, address changes, if you request an additional to add a modality or remove a modality, that type of thing. We need all of that. And I know that when you do for address changes, we also need to see one of 2 things from KDADs, that they've sent you, an email saying, here's, your new license will be coming, or wherever your address change, and or your new KDAD's license with the new address on there. All right. And then sometimes we may ask you for an implementation plan addendum, mostly for if you're adding modalities or changing your curriculum. And that's kind of an individual thing. So that would be something I'd like for you to reach out to me about, or I'll give you some guidance with some of that if that comes up. So with the new process, the recertification process, what we are asking you to do is select at least one core and one complementary evidence-based curriculum. And then we would ask for you to also be facilitating that curricula your agency is using, and be facilitating it with fidelity per the curriculum that you're utilizing. So some guidelines for selecting evidence-based practices and curriculums. Again, you want to deliver it with fidelity. It needs to be appropriate to the modality that you're going to be using it with. Delivered within the training and licensure scope of your staff. Based in cognitive behavioral therapy applications. One of the things, this is probably a big change for current providers. Any kind of piecemeal or modified curricula no longer represents evidence-based practice. Okay, as we all know, research outcomes and that type of thing. So what that means is the previous CBIT or CBIC is no longer recognized by us as an approved curriculum. So that would be that previous KDOC training where they took components out of the T4C curriculum and that type of thing. So also just a brief reminder with that, when any directors or staff, when you're having your new staff person complete that temporary application, please don't have them put down that they're going to be delivering the CBIC stuff on that application, okay? Because we no longer, moving forward, honor that. And then, again, just whatever curriculum you are deciding to utilize, be sure that it complements your program, the modalities you're delivering, the populations you serve, that type of thing. We also, most of our treatment providers already have a very nice selection, so to speak, of evidence-based curriculums that you're already utilizing. So we are not asking you to go out and purchase these big, fancy curriculums and that type of thing. Also, in your implementation plan, we do, I don't think I mentioned this in here, but all we're asking you to talk about is how are you going to supervise new staff? You know, what are you going to do about that? To be kind of, mentor them up so they know how to deliver that curriculum with fidelity, the curriculum you're using. And so we just ask for you to briefly outline that in your implementation plan. Some clinical staff responsibilities and tasks would be to be sure you're maintaining your license and that we have a copy. Be aware of assessment and clinical updating guidelines for KDADs and for us. Conduct those, the clinical ASAM criteria updates for level transfers. Okay. I think we mentioned that earlier as well. Assist clients and ISOs with the treatment referral process. Collaborate with them. Officer, would you like to facilitate, obtaining a bed date, scheduling a bed date, that type of thing. And then communicate consistently with court service officer or the ISO for basically continuity of care, right? We do ask for those monthly reports to be done. Okay, and be communicating about, and let's try to communicate both things. I know that it gets hard sometimes because they are difficult client to work with at times, some of them, and they're a little feisty and grumpy and all that type of thing. But let's talk with the officers about all the good stuff that they're doing too. Hey, they were on time for group this week, or that type of thing. Of course, try to find that balance and really looking at the things that we are reporting and collaborating about to help the client be successful. That's the main goal, right? There's those monthly report forms again, right? Being friendly with our collaboration with other providers is also helpful. And just always remembering that we're there to serve the client. Okay. If you have, sometimes when things come up, if you have some questions about things, if there's anything we can help you with, just let us know. Also being aware of our minimum and maximum cost cap guidelines is important as clinicians or peer mentors, particularly if you're the one that's doing that intake appointment for a treatment client and you're scheduling their groups. You need to understand that we have that 4-hour group minimum per week. Or as a peer mentor, you may work with the client concurrently in level 1, not currently in IOP or residential care. That's not a billing that we honor at this time. Okay, so just kind of being mindful of some of that. Our cost cap guidelines are on our website for you to print and kind of have handy for reference for you. Be sure you're adhering to our policy, program, and expectations, administering that curriculum again with fidelity, and just assisting and supervising new counselors and peer mentors. Also, having said that, I do understand that the luxury of having a new counselor follow a senior counselor around for about a month, that ship has sailed. And we understand that, but just do the best you can to help those new counselors and peer mentors kind of get their groove on when they're new, and try to remember what it was like for you when you were new. Yeah. All right. And then peer mentor responsibilities, very similar to clinical staff responsibilities. You need to be approved by KDADS, and we need to approve you. The peer mentorship modality needs to be approved for your agency so you can bill it. And then we need to see that certificate that needs to be on file. If you have a KCPMT, which is a peer and training certificate, please be sure that when you get through that training process and transition to the KCPM certificate, we need a copy of that as well. Okay. Those 3 individual hours per week when they're in level 1. So it'd be level 1, and we call level 1 both outpatient group and relapse prevention is all level 1 from our perspective. Cost cap minimums and maximums again. Be sure you're doing that wellness plan, and you're not engaging in doing normal treatment plans, please. Okay, that your license and certification doesn't cover that. Group co-facilitation is allowed by us if that is detailed within your implementation plan. Okay. Questions? That's it. The process in a nutshell.
So Gwen, there are some questions in the chat.
Perfect. I'm going to stop share so I can see people when they ask questions. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's see what we got.
I think there was one from Serena.
Okay. Serena,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So Serena, I'm just going to read your question. Okay. I participate in a location with drug court. We use a system to enter notes where all of drug court team members are able to see the progress notes between treatment providers and ISOs. Completing the monthly report form seems redundant. Do we still have to complete the monthly report forms with these clients? Well, that's an Elliot question, maybe. What do you say, Elliot? I appreciate you doing that. That sounds like it's an awesome process. So,
I would say this. I would say technically the answer is yes. According to the policy, the monthly progress report form still needs to be done. That said, if we come to audit and request to see client files and we're able to access those files and the notes that you're referring to, and we can see via those files that at least monthly communication, and it sounds like, usually with drug court clients, it's more than monthly from what I've seen. Um, then I think that we could allow that as a substitution for the monthly progress report forms. Those forms were kind of created and intended to be a way that we can ensure that providers and supervision officers are communicating and collaborating with each other, right? So, if you have another way of doing that, as long as we have access to that when we come to audit, that would be okay.
So I have a question about that too. This is Trish. So you say you have a place where the ISOs and everybody can see this. Is that in Athena? I mean, is that something that, so many times I'll get a question from somebody asking about when did they start treatment? Have they had an assessment? And I have to rely on the ISOs for that answer and sometimes CSOs. But sometimes I'm able to get that answer in the Chronos in Athena. I don't generally like to do that because sometimes there's a lot of acronyms I don't understand, and I really would rather talk to an ISO or CSO. But I'm curious, is that communication in Athena?
No, we use a system called Connexus.
Okay.
Okay. Serena, did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Okay. Good job. Thank you. All right. So this, not sure who this is from. Let me see. Donna Gorman. Okay, Donna. Clarification. I'm just going to read the question. If a peer mentor has the level 1 training, but not the level 2 training, they're not able to provide peer mentor services to Senate bill clients under supervision. No, I mean, we approve them when they have that level 1 training, because of course you're going to be, then there's requirements for supervision of them and requirements for so many hours that they work per week. Okay, so we approve the peer mentor during that process. So I'm not quite sure what you're
I
asking.
just wasn't sure if I heard that right. That's why I put that question in. So
Okay.
I was hoping that was your answer.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
The one thing that we do not want peer mentors doing is facilitating a clinical group by themselves. We do not honor billing, concurrent billing with a peer working in IOP or residential care at this time. Okay. So we also, want them to be, of course, focusing on that wellness plan, supporting the clinicians with how they're working with the client. I know a lot of treatment providers have a peer help co-facilitate a group, help you with the charting, help you with, managing that group, work with a client who's maybe having a little difficulty completing some of their practice work from a specific curriculum that you're using. So peer mentors work with that, those kinds of things. So,
Okay.
what I was referring to is sometimes when I ask to see the peer certificate, Donna, I will get a treatment provider, whether it be a new one or existing one, sending me their online training completion certificate. That's not what we're looking for. Okay. That's like that start, because then after they finish that, then they make application to the KDAD's BH division to get that KCPMT.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
so,
Okay, thank you.
all right, you're welcome. Let's see, is there? Okay, oh, that was answered. Good job, Robin. Thank you. Okay.
And I just wanted to go back real quick to Robin's question, because I know she said in the chat that they have like a weekly attendance report that they send to CSOs and ISOs, which is awesome. And I just want to make sure, again, that would kind of fall under the same, like you said, it was kind of answered by Serena's question. I just want to make sure, what is important is not just the communication around their attendance, but on the monthly progress report form, it gives you a place to kind of check their level of participation. So you can indicate, was it very satisfactory, needs improvement, or maybe there was a relapse. So, if you have a way of kind of communicating that via the weekly attendance reports, that's fabulous. But that piece of information is important to communicate some type of way with the CSOs and ISOs as well. So their weekly attendance is really helpful and certainly gives you a glimpse as far as their level of participation, right? But it's also important that that information be communicated somehow.
Yeah, so on
Okay.
that weekly report that we have been sending, and we can definitely move over to this monthly report, it has like the date they attended, their participation level, reasons they didn't attend, if it was excused or unexcused, stuff like that. So that's what we've been using in the past. And so I'm just worried that when you guys come in for the audit, that's not going to work, but we can, I guess, start sending this out monthly as well.
I mean, it sounds like you're going above and beyond. So I would say no need to change what you're doing. When we come to audit, when we see those in the file, whether, if they've been emailed to the CSOs, then that shows us that you've done your part as far as communicating that with the CSOs, right? Or the ISOs or whoever's supervising. So as long as we see that, I think that would be an acceptable replacement for the monthly progress report.
Okay, perfect. And I mean, I might go ahead and just send you like a copy of that just so that you can see if we need to add anything specific to Senate bill clients.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to look at it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then also just for officers on the conference today, when we do have treatment providers utilizing that, there is a part on there for officers to complete, sign, and send back to the treatment provider for the client's file, if you would, please. Okay, it's just kind of it's brief. Okay, so just to have that collaboration at least monthly, in the client's file, right? So if we do have with treatment providers completing those and sending them. Okay. Wait, I think there was, let's see. Oh, Elliot already answered you, Denise. So, okay.
Gwen,
Yes. Hi, JoBeth.
I do have a question, or just a clarification, I guess. So for the recertification, because I know some of us worked really hard on the last implementation plan, is it okay to just kind of modify the plan that we have, taking out the CBIC and replacing like that kind of a thing, or do you want like completely new?
Nope, absolutely. The updated plan has been reduced tremendously from some of the things that we asked about previously. Let's see, and for treatment providers who did go through that process before, copy and paste applicable areas, the implementation plan, the new one, you can type right on it. For treatment providers who have multiple locations, I have asked you to just do an additional, because there's really not a lot of room there, to put your other locations down, the staff that work at those locations and that type of thing, providing you're going to utilize the same curriculum, like say, for example, you have the residential here, or you're going to do the same outpatient for all your outpatient locations. You're going to utilize the same curriculum for all of your outpatient locations, providing that you're doing that. But I don't, because you just have one location currently, correct, Jo Beth?
Yes.
Yeah, right on. So, but yeah, you can do that. We no longer need to see, it talks about your treatment schedule in a general way on that new plan, but we don't need to see the detail that we had previously asked for. Did that make you happy, Jo Beth?
Yes, very happy.
Perfect. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
I mean, we've even told people if you want to cut and paste from the old plan, parts that are still relevant and answer the questions in the new plan, that's totally fine. There's really no need to reinvent the wheel. So if there's parts of the plan that are still applicable and you're still doing the curriculum or the schedule, whatever, send it to us. That'll work.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You are welcome. Good question. Let's see. All right. I think Elliot answered that one. I'm always looking for treatment providers show Kansas true permit. Okay. Okay. I think everyone probably got that from you, Christy. Good job.
Yeah, a lot of times, I use SAMHSA and not everybody pulls up. And I noticed that there are some agencies here that I send referrals to, but that I don't recognize some. So I just want to say, hey, I'm here, and I provide evaluations throughout the state of Kansas. And I'd love to have more resources from treatment providers, and I particularly would like some for virtual services and also in Spanish speaking. So thank you very much for having a moment here.
Okay,
And I did leave speedysap@outlook.com there in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Then we also have write myself a note, our statewide Senate Bill 123 provider list on our website. There's a couple of updates I need to make to that, and I'm aware of that. We try to keep it as updated as possible, and that is broken down by city, and then the corresponding judicial district on that. Please, 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 if you look at that and you see an error in any kind, whatnot, please let me know. We'll get that corrected right away. We also, in terms of new providers, provider changes, those types of things, I also work with Tanis Anderson at KDOC to go into Athena and make those corrections in there for community corrections to see and that type of thing. Also, I invite any community corrections officers, if you see anything funky in there that's related to, a treatment provider, modalities, or anything that would be not correct, or you have a question about when you go in there to put your interventions in Athena, please let us know, and we'll get that fixed up. So, but just know that there is a lot of you and one of me, and I'm just doing the best I can. And I'm totally open to, hey, Miss Harvey, this is not right. So.
And we will be working in the future to add, we do have information on this provider list now about who provides telehealth services. but we're going to be working in the future on adding additional information, like who does provide bilingual Spanish speaking services and kind of any other specialty services that different providers might be able to offer. So that way, when, assessors or CSOs, ISOs, whatever, are looking at that list and they have a client who might need something kind of specific like that, that they can refer to that provider list to get that information.
Any other questions? Questions or comments?
Right. I guess we're good to go. So,
Gwen,
oh,
Gwen,
Who's that? Yes.
this is Susie.
Hi, Susie.
I have a question just in general.
Okay.
What curriculum beyond what we discussed during training might be a best fit for the Senate Bill 123 program? Are you seeing something, a curriculum that you've noticed that sort of shines?
Well, I'm gonna defer to some of the treatment providers. I know there's several out there that are related to working with the corrections population and that type of thing. But perhaps we can have some treatment providers talk about kind of what they see as a really good one, that type of thing. Anyone who wants to share with Susie about that, which you feel like has worked out best for you all?
we got an answer in the chat. John from PFH says they use the CBISA, that's the UC Cognitive Behavioral Interventions for Substance Use curriculum, and then they also use Thinking for a Change.
And Thinking for a Change is appropriate?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
yes,
I'm just
it is.
checking.
Right, that is
Thinking for-
appropriate, but just know that for fidelity, that the curriculum needs to be taught as the authors direct that, okay?
Right.
Where you
Right.
go through each lesson plan and so, okay.
Is there anything else?
I like the way, and I don't remember specifically, and they had it on the training that I went to last time, and I don't remember specifically what it said. But one of the things I liked about it is that they opened it up for more room for the clinician to be able to pick from different modalities. And it allowed you to use your own clinical judgment, and you had more tools to pick from out of your toolbox. And one of the modalities is motivational interviewing. And, I love that because it really works well in working with individuals who have substance use disorder, people who struggle with anger issues, people who have a tendency for legal problems. And it's working shoulder to shoulder with the client. You're not telling them, but you're working with them and you're bringing them around. So it seems like it's their idea. And I used that when I worked in the maximum security prison with male inmates. I used it when I worked on the Veterans Crisis Line with individuals that would call and they would just be furious, or they may be, ready to do the unthinkable, the unspeakable. And it really helped me gain respect. It helped me be able to get them to the place where they were able to talk to me. It gave me the power, if you will, and I don't know that that's the right word to use, but it gave me the power to be able to sit there and have a conversation with them and give them the dignity in a non-judgmental way that gave them the power to talk as just two human beings. And so I really like the motivational interviewing. I feel that as a clinician, you really need to have several tools in your toolbox. The CBI, the DBT, the motivational interviewing, to be able to have a handful of those things, especially when we're working with these individuals. They're all unique, just like we are. Everybody here on this Zoom appointment or a conference, we're all different. What's going to work for one of us isn't going to work for the next. So, with that being said, I love the thinking for change, but it's not yours as a clinician. I mean, yeah, it's great, but you can't deviate from it. The CBI. So
Yep.
there you have it. That's all I have to say on that. That's enough.
Well, and then too, you want to be sure with certain curriculums that there are, like with the University of Cincinnati curriculum, there are entry points before that they have to complete and those kinds of things before starting the group and some of that. And so again, it needs to kind of enhance what you're doing, your schedule, the types of clients, your staff that you're working with, that type of thing. So anyways, and then Susie, you attended, there's also that EBP evidence-based curriculum list on the PowerPoint from the training that you attended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also in the past, I've used Seeking Safety.
Yep, that's a good one.
Okay, I'm just double
Thanks, Elliot.
checking before I approach on things. I've seen that work well with my clients.
Yep, it's a good one. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then also, just to remind everyone, that if you're utilizing a curriculum that has workbooks, such as the New Directions, the Hazelden New Directions series of workbooks with the criminal and addictive thinking, the socialization, and the relapse prevention workbooks, we don't want you charging our clients for those workbooks, okay?
Yes,
Change
I
Company
agree.
is another one. All right. So we do have some of our providers use that particular curriculum. And then the only thing to say with that is, just for fidelity purposes, be sure that when the clients are doing their practice work from that workbook, that, you push them to complete that practice work. Okay. And that kind of thing. So that's kind of that fidelity piece with some of that as well. All right. But it's all about having, some of that flexibility for a client. If you have someone who's had quite a bit of treatment, and just having some of those other kinds of complementary curriculums and material to use with clients as they progress through the continuum of care, and for folks who've had lots of treatment also, right? So that's where, a lot of that motivational interviewing types of things, some of the Gorski material, right? We do have a lot of our treatment providers complement their core curriculum with the matrix curriculum, which is a good complement. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have a lot oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you for allowing the brainstorming. Thank you.
We do. Yeah. We also have a lot of providers I know that use the Living in Balance curriculum. The
Yep,
Seeking
that one too.
Safety curriculum is very popular.
Mhm.
So those are ones that I hear a lot. But
Elliot,
yes,
I also like the Helping Men and Helping Women Recover curricula.
I'm a huge fan of both of
Yep.
those. Yeah. Yep. They're great for this population. Those are great curricula. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. There's also a lot of good material in some of the SAMHSA tip books, right? For treatment planning. Additional, there's one, I forget which one it is. I think it's 35, 36. Anyways, about has a lot of like worksheets and suggestions with motivational interviewing and other types of things too. So there's some of that material available out there. Just whatever you feel fits for your area, the population you're working with, your staff, that type of thing. You know, be creative with it. That's part of the change that we wanted, is that to let you make some of those decisions about the curriculum that you're utilizing, and be flexible with it, and have lots of other, you know, before we did ask you for complimentary materials, that type of thing. So, and a lot of you, like I said, most all of you already have those things that you're utilizing. So it's just a matter of, we're just asking you to put it on paper for us so we know, right? So in a general way, we don't need the content pages. We don't need copies of the curriculum. I have delivered a lot of those curriculums, having all the experience I have had in treatment and that type of thing. So I'm familiar with them for the most part. So we just don't need that kind of detail from you with your plans, all right? So don't panic about that. Any other questions? I'm sure this little section has probably been boring for ISOs and CSOs on the call right now, but you know, I think honestly, it's probably maybe even helpful for you to know that the level of just kind of the level of oversight and collaboration that we do with approved treatment providers. Okay, so maybe that's helpful for you to know all that. I don't know. Hopefully. Okay, Stephanie, do you have anything to kind of add to kind of what we're talking about? That type of thing?
I don't think so. I just want to make sure people are aware if they submit a new application to KDADS that we have 90 days to approve or deny the request once all required material is received. So I will work with the provider if we need adjustments to policy and procedure or something like that. But if you're missing entire policies or a fire inspection or something like that, generally your 90 days doesn't start until I've received all of that.
Okay, good to know. And then I have a question about that. Then once you approve the new provider, Stephanie, what is the time frame to then generate their KDADS license?
It's usually a pretty quick turnaround.
Okay.
Once I have the approval done, I try to have everything done on our end and the license signed and back from the secretary and to the provider within a week.
Oh, perfect. I expected you to say
Yeah.
longer than that. Just curious. So, because when we're kind of looking at that, they'll say, well, they said we're good, but I don't have my license yet. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, that type of thing. And then I, you know, kind of then we've got Carolyn over on the other side, you know, kind of that type of thing. So,
It
and
does
then
it does get complicated because funders really won't work with a provider until we have issued that approval, and that can, once that time frame can take up to 90 days from what I'm hearing. So even after we give our license to them, it could be 90 days before they're approved by different insurance companies and things like that. So I know that that is very stressful on providers, and I try to work with them as much as possible to um, hurry things along on my end. But once I do an approval, the biggest thing that takes time is getting the license back from the secretary. If they're on vacation or if they're swamped, it could take a little while.
okay. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Let's see. Beth, while we're talking about timeframes and approvals and stuff, do you have anything to add kind of with your process real quick before we break for lunch here? While we're kind of talking about recertification, certification process and some of that. You or Emily, either one. I think that's your area. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, the good news is that once we've gotten approval, it doesn't take a really long time to get everything set up. Usually a week, maybe two on the outside if we've got a couple of national teammates out for whatever reason. But just a reminder, and you mentioned this earlier, but even if you are a provider and set up with regular credentialing through our other lines of business, Gwen does all of the credentialing for the Senate Bill 123 program. So having a modality or a location certified under other lines does not mean that it's approved or certified under the Senate Bill program. So any questions on that, I always refer to Gwen, change forms, any ads, anything like that.
Okay. Thank you, Beth. And then if there's new providers on the call today, just know that once you are approved, again, I reach out to Carolyn, let them know that you're approved, when it's effective, what modalities you're approved for, and that kind of thing. I do the same thing with KDOC. So we, give that notification out, give them your, your contact information, your address, your phone number, all of that. I do the same thing when you added modalities. Okay. So keeps me busy. I'm just saying. Right. So, even though the process sounds a bit, or can sound a bit overwhelming, I always tell people to think of it as a kind of Legos. It's, first you do this, then next, and that type of thing. That letter on our website for new applicants walks you through that process. Okay. If you look at that and you still have questions, please reach out to me. We find it helpful with new providers, and we're not going to make you, but we do find it helpful when I say, listen, we can do a brief Teams meeting and kind of talk with you a little bit. And it has been reported to us that that's been very helpful to new applicants and stuff. So we're always open to that process, just to kind of walk you through that. We're open to questions anytime throughout the process, or anytime you have questions in general, whether you're brand new or not. That's what we're here for. Okay, let me see. Might have another question. Let's see. Okay, just some feedback about SAMHSA. Yep, that anger management curriculum with SAMHSA. Right on. Let's see. Oops, I think I went the wrong direction. Okay. I
think we're good on questions in the chat. There was some back and
Okay.
forth because Robin from Healthy Recovery Options shared that they have a translator that can help with the alcohol and drug information school. And she said
Awesome.
they used to offer a Spanish speaking group, but usually don't have enough Spanish speaking clients. So that's good to know because we've been talking about this a lot recently. We've been getting more and more requests, as I'm sure a lot of you have, for Spanish speaking counselors and treatment. So, Robin, that's good to know. You might be hearing from us about that.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then is there anyone from New Dawn in the conference today? I think they have some availability of that as well. Possibly, telehealth and that kind of thing too. But I don't think that one's group. So, we are just knowing that, wanting to help people with some of those resources and knowing about some of those resources, because there's nothing more frustrating, right, than to have someone with a need and you go, oh my gosh, what now, right? Where do I go? And so, we are asking everyone with their new plans to put on there if you have telehealth available, and we're just asking for that outline on the new plans that we have coming in right now too. So anyway, so that we can, just kind of disseminate some of that resource and knowledge onto the provider treatment provider list, the statewide treatment provider list. And just so you know, I also let Tanis Anderson know that any kind of special note, like, please put in that telehealth is available when they put changes or brand new providers into Athena as well. Oh, another one. Let me see here. Okay. Do you want me to read your question, John, or do you want to mention it and see? You're welcome to just.
Well, I'm just saying that, sometimes we've been coming across, not so much for Spanish speaking, but for visual or hearing impaired clients. So we've been trying to treat new apps and stuff like that. So we haven't had much luck if there's any suggestions.
Okay. Any suggestions from any treatment providers, how you kind of handle that? I know I've heard recent from a treatment provider that, and I'm not sure where the funding comes from for them, but they have some sometimes interpreter resources available to them. Okay, there's some suggestions coming to you in the chat. Let's see, hang on. Mavis is saying they use Able Hands. There's a number.
We use Able Hands, Gwen. Basically, we end up having to pay for them to have an interpreter come out to us, but they came in one time, hooked up a television, and like if that provider was VTC or could do online, they could connect everybody online, and we would just have the client come into the conference room and they would be able to talk with that interpreter online with the counselor.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Thank you, Mavis. Excellent.
And they're deaf speaking. So they do both signing and they do some with visual impairment too.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I couldn't imagine, frustrating enough to be in the situation you're, right, legally with needing treatment and then having additional barriers and that type of thing. So thank you for that. So yes, we will continue to work on that. If you ever, if you know of some additional resources, please let us know. We can be sure that we put those on our website and our provider list too, to help clients. Okay. I think that's woohoo. Did we put the bow on it? All righty then.
Yeah, I think we're good. If there's no other questions, then we can go ahead and